Well, good morning, fellow streakers. It's Jeff and Jamie, and we are with you on another podcast doing our streaking thing.
Our streaking thing on our streaking podcast.
I love this streaking podcast.
It goes fast like a streak.
Across the sky.
But it's consistent.
We shoot. We fly. We go. What is that flying across the sky up there?
It's consistency. I see it all the time.
Oh, my goodness. That is bad. That's just absolutely awful.
I know. Bad jokes. Sorry. It's January. You can't be expected to have really good jokes in
Not
January.
yet, at least, right?
No. Takes it at least until the summer.
And then we may or may not have some good jokes.
Sometimes we start talking and I'm like, why are we talking about jokes? Welcome to our podcast.
Because
this
that's
morning.
the conversation. That's how we do this. We just start a conversation. I mean, we have a general direction. We know what way we're going to go. Like, for example, this month we're talking about health and wellness.
Yep.
And we're going to discuss some of that.
Jokes and laughing help you stay healthy.
You know what?
That would be a great streak.
What's
Laugh
that?
once a day.
Laugh once a day. But would that be like keeping it laughably simple.
Yeah,
would that be a force?
It doesn't have to be something. You could you fake laugh sometimes. I've seen you do that.
Yeah,
so,
you're true.
You know,
that's true.
It doesn't have to be like.
Well, sometimes the kids,
laugh.
like Lily, will start telling like a dad joke, as they put it, or a punny joke, like what we just did, streaking across the sky.
Right,
and it's not really funny.
It's not funny.
However,
but you fake laugh at it.
You fake laugh at it.
Okay, maybe smile. Like that would be a great
smile
streak.
at least
once a day.
Once a day.
Or maybe smile at a stranger once a day.
Tell yourself a joke once a day. Just that's funny to you. Just inside. Just get a little laugh going.
Okay, that'd be good. Laugh at yourself once a day.
Yeah, laugh at yourself once a day. Oh, and you know what? That is interesting because there's several times in a day where I'm like, really? I did that? I really did that?
I know. That's a good one. I might write that one down. Laugh at yourself once a day, just to kind of keep things a little light.
And it has been shown that humor and laughter, I mean, we talked about this, this has been several months ago, how it can help with your overall general health.
Yes, your health and wellness. Smiling is good. Laughing is good. And I do think laughing at yourself.
I think it would be interesting to look at. I remember a study that I read once, and that's been done on how many muscles it takes to smile and how many muscles it takes to frown. And the difference between the two.
Yes.
Does a smile come more naturally to your face?
No. No. My resting face is a little bit more.
But is it, let me ask a different question. Is it easy for you to smile? I mean, does it feel like it's, I guess there are times where, I mean, if you've ever been at a wedding and you've smiled a lot, you're like, my face is tired.
Yes, your cheeks get hurt. You're like, my cheeks hurt. I smiled too much today. But most of the time, I like smiling. Yes, I like smiling.
That's great. However, you said it doesn't come easy.
Not all the time. Definitely not all the time. There's those personalities that you look at and they just are more naturally jovial and smiling more often. And then there's personalities that are just more serious and you need to think, I should smile more.
And either is, I mean, I look at it and I'm like, either is okay.
Either's okay. But I was thinking that as we were laughing and joking about jokes, that I was thinking
about streaking across the sky. Streakers across the sky.
I was thinking that I might think about setting a streak to laugh at myself once daily with the idea of don't take things so seriously all the time. That it's okay every day to kind of just have a little bit of a reminder. How would I do that at night? I don't know. Maybe I would sit down at night and think through the day and think, was there anything that was kind of comical about that? How my day went. Is there something in that day that I could kind of laugh at myself about? I don't know.
This brings us to a methodology moment.
Yes.
And it's one of the things that we're going to start doing on every podcast is have a methodology moment. Because what you are talking about is setting up another streak.
Yeah, you're right.
And we have had streakers ask us specifically about how to write a streak and what a streak looks like. Almost law number one, keep it laughably simple.
Yes.
And I thought that, what you just said, I think lends itself to the methodology moment. When you look at streaking, I think first and foremost, to establish right out of the chute in our methodology moment, we are at war with habits. I just want to be real clear about this. And the reason we're at war with habits is because habits lead you astray. Habits lead you to thinking that if you do something repetitively, it's going to become automatic. And
Right.
when it doesn't become automatic, you're flawed. I know that we've said this several times, and we're going to continue to say it because we were just on a podcast, and the person to whom we were speaking got it all wrong. And it's our fault.
It is our fault. That's what we were thinking. We're like, we were not clear enough.
And what I mean by got it all wrong, they got streaks and streaking all wrong. All they did was call it a habit,
Yeah,
and it's
how to
another way
make-
to do habits. It's,
yeah.
it's wrong. That is
Well-
not what it is.
Exactly. Streaking is not a tool to help you have good habits.
No, it's not.
Because
But why do we need to be adamant about that? What is it about that we feel so passionate about?
Because habits, way it's defined right now, those two major definitions of doing something repetitively or doing something automatically without thinking. And I've talked about this before, that we've turned it into kind of an if-then statement. There's this belief that if you do something repetitively, it will become automatic. And so that has become...
So if you do it, then it will become automatic.
Right. So what has been taught and believed is that if you want... And it's this idea that if you work really hard at the beginning, then you've put in all the effort and it'll become automatic and you won't have to think about it. And what we are saying is that's not true.
It's just not.
It's just not true. Things are not, there are some things that are just never going to be automatic. You will need to be intentional.
One of our streakers calls habits a myth. That
Yes.
it's
There
myth.
are no real habits. That's a bold statement.
That is a bold statement. What I see as a habit is that it's a very small category of behavior. It's a very small category. It is not broad. It is not big. It is significantly small. And where that small category behavior is around how I do something. And we talk about this, and speaking of methodology moment, in the book in chapter 6, we talk about a list of habits which are how I do something. This morning when I was getting ready, I didn't think I have these baskets from which I draw my different clothes, right? And I had switched the baskets just a little bit. I
switched
thought
their position?
Their position, yeah. So
Okay.
and I went into one basket. I'm like, why are these here? And I had forgotten that I'd switched them. In other words, that was automatic. But it didn't matter.
weren't thinking
I wasn't
how
thinking.
the how was-
And the how was I'm just reaching in and I'm getting the clothing that I need. You know, it's my socks. I need to get my socks from that particular basket, and I had moved it.
Right.
And so that was, and I would say that's habit, right? I reached to the same place that the socks were. They're socks.
Reach for your stocks, honey.
I'd love to reach for some stocks. Wish we would have bought more Zoom when that came out.
Yeah, let's reach for that stock.
Yeah, no kidding.
But reach for your socks.
So I reached, and that wasn't what was in that basket because I'd shifted everything just one. It really didn't matter though. Does that make sense? I mean, it was just like, oh yeah, I forgot I switched that. What matters should be and it has to be intentional. It does
Right.
not become automatic.
No.
And that's another area I look at is we are not robots. We do not program ourselves to be certain ways. And I don't want to be a
No.
robot. I don't want to program myself to be a certain
The
way.
ability to be intentional in our life is truly a gift. To be able to decide how we want to live each day is a gift. And even though sometimes that gift can feel a little bit like a burden where you're like, oh my goodness, do I have to do all of these things every day? Truly, when
The answer is no.
No, you don't. But when you truly look at it, the opportunity to be intentional is amazing.
It is absolutely
And
amazing.
we don't want things to be so automatic. But what we do want is how do we grow? So what has happened is that we want to grow. We want to be consistent. We know that consistency is going to help growth.
We had a great conversation on this the other day that I want to get to, but not right now.
So we've been...
Remember we talked about it as leadership, as far as
Oh,
consistency, that becomes the base.
Yes.
Anyway, we'll talk about that in a later podcast.
Well, now you've thrown me all off. Where
I'm
was
sorry.
I? I don't even know where I am now.
You're talking about habits and growth and being able to be conscious and intentional.
I think that's why that leap from something you do consistently to something you don't have to think about has happened, is that we want to be able to have these things just happen automatically. I do believe that things become, I don't know if easier is the right word,
Yeah.
but the more that you do them, the act of doing them becomes easier. But that is not a guarantee of consistency. It's just not.
Well,
and, so
and let's go to health and wellness
be,
for a second. In lifting weights, in the years that I lifted weights, yes, I got stronger, but the actual act of going to lift weights was always a conscious effort.
Right.
And I could lift heavier weights. However, it wasn't that I could now just,
your body didn't automatically do it because you had done a lot at the beginning. Lily
in fact,
says the
I haven't
same
lifted
thing.
weights for a long time now. I mean, and that's one of the things. We do our streak of walking or running, and I have a push-up streak and a plank streak, at least 10 push-ups daily and at least one plank daily. That's the one Ace always laughs at.
Get down on the ground.
And do at least one plank. But that will never be automatic.
No.
And I don't want it to be. I want it to be intentional.
And Lily says the same thing about stretching. Like she, as a dancer, she needs to stretch every single day.
Yeah.
And when you're doing it every day, it gets a little bit easier to do it. I think it keeps that happening. But being easier to do it doesn't guarantee that you're going to do it every day. You still have to decide to intentionally do that thing every day. And that's where the streak comes in, is it keeps that intentionality on the top of your mind each day. So we were going to talk a little bit today about, like, how do you write a streak? Why is it important the way that you write it or the way that you decide what that streak is? Like, why is that important?
And I look at it as important because it helps you to get in the right mindset for the way that you do a streak. I remember when we were starting our streaking journey and we were talking about writing our streaks down. And at first, we just wrote them in a general way. And then as we got to writing the book and really thinking about it, we noticed that there were specific things that a streak, when you write a streak, had to contain because of your psyche, of what it did for you psychologically.
And I'm shaking my head yes, because I had an experience the other day. So I've been wanting to work with my son on his multiplication facts. And I've been thinking about it for a while and thought about setting a streak to work with him on those. Just something that, and the reason I was thinking about that is because I have a daughter who's older in college who actually, that was one of the first streaks that she set, was work on her multiplication facts, which I thought was interesting because she said, I just never got them down at the level that I wanted. And maybe if I just review them or review one every day, it'll keep it top of mind and it'll be there fast like I want it to be. And so I was thinking about setting this multiplication streak with my son. And it was fascinating to me that I have been streaking for over 5 years. We've written a book on it. I talk to people about it all the time. And still, in my head, I had to think, is one multiplication fact really going to make a difference? If I work with him, if my streak is to say, I'm going to review at least one multiplication fact with chance every day.
There's always a little bit of doubt there, isn't there?
There is. And that's why
Will it really make a difference? And what is it about that? Anyway, we get there, but go ahead.
Well, I had an epiphany when I was thinking about it because
you should see when she does this, when she has the epiphany, because her eyes get really big and bright.
I've got
and it's
something
like,
to
I've
say.
got something to say, and she's ready.
And I got to say it quick or it'll be gone. I was thinking, because I was frustrated that I thought, I've been doing this for a long time. Why am I doubting? Why do I still doubt whether or not this will work? And the thought that I came up with is I thought, it's habits again. We have been conditioned to believe that, if I do it repeatedly, it'll be automatic. And then when it doesn't happen, we doubt. We're like, okay, see, it doesn't work. And so what we're fighting when we set a streak is our knowledge that something small done inconsistently doesn't work. That is true. We know that.
That is absolutely true.
If you do it inconsistently, it doesn't make a difference. But what we also know is how many times we've tried to have a habit turn automatic and it didn't go automatic and it hasn't been consistent. And so there's something inside of us that says, well, if I do something small, it's like we assume we're going to be inconsistent. I know eventually I'm not going to do it. So It's stupid to set something so small. I got to do it big if I'm really going to make a difference. So what streaking, and this is the thing that I've loved. I know we're supposed to be talking about how to set a streak, but just a little tangent here. One of the things that I have really loved the longer we've done this and the more people we talk to is when people start after about 3 or 4 or 6 months, we'll get an email or a little text message.
Which, by the way, we got a very cool email the other night.
And this was one of I want to actually talk about that in a whole separate podcast.
Oh, that's a whole separate podcast.
But the one thing I wanted to bring up from that email that she said is what happens inside of yourself in believing that you're going to do something. This idea that once you've set a streak and you've done it for a while, you genuinely start to change inside and you think, I can be consistent. I can totally be consistent.
And that's significant because, like you said, the conditioning has been that the habit will help us be consistent. In other words, because I'll start to be automatic.
But then most of us have had the opposite experience. And so
we doubt ourselves.
So we doubt ourselves. We think,
I'm not that person. I can read about all those people and I can see about who those people are that are way out there in the ether that I can't touch.
But I have tried again and again and again, and I can tell you it is not working for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we talk about setting something small, what we talked about doing is being able to, when you write it, you pick that laughably small thing. Maybe that's your laughable streak. Read through my streaks and laugh every day. But you pick that laughably small thing. And then when you write it, you write at least. I only have to do, if I just do this, at least one multiplication fact a day.
Now, I would pause on because I would say not just. That's one of my words that I don't like.
I hate that too, and I've been trying to omit it. But
just going to do this.
See?
I think it diminishes what it is that you're actually accomplishing when you use the word just. It diminishes the significance of your consistency. I am not just writing a sentence. I'm writing a sentence every day. It's like what Megan Sumeril said when we were talking with her the other day. She said, I can say I'm a writer.
Because I write a sentence every day.
At least one sentence every day. And notice the two words there, at least. So let's get back to the streak that you were considering writing.
I wanted to say real quick, the just is, I think that word indicates the battle that we're fighting.
Inside of ourselves.
How ingrained this idea is that we,
because what we do is we discount it immediately. We say, well, I just did this. I just did that. Or I just ran this. Or I just wrote this. Or I just read... Right. I'm going to apologize to everyone, all the people who I know are doing it all big, bold, and beautiful.
I know I'm just doing this. It's like we have to.
And so it's like going to the bargain store. You're discounting everything and it's a cheap plastic toy on the shelf. That's not it. This is the fleck of gold. This is, and it's so significant. It's worth what it is that you have in that fleck of gold done consistently allows you now to be something that you've always wanted to be. And as soon as I start to discount it by saying, I just did this, and I diminish its impact in my life, then what happens? I stop doing it altogether.
Yep. And it's so true. That's why I look at this and I'm like, so much of what we're accomplishing and trying to change is these inside battles inside of ourselves, these things in our head that we say to ourselves.
Right.
And I agree, just is one of, and every time I say it or you point it out, I'm reminded how difficult it is to fight this battle. But also, I look at it and I think, but I have had so much success in setting streaks.
Do you find it's hard to believe?
I truly believe it works. Do you
still look at it and it's hard to believe the success that you've had?
Yes. It's totally hard to believe. There's still times
for me
that I'm
too.
like,
I sit back sometimes and I look at it. I'm like, wow, I've really had some significant success, and I want to tell people about it because I'm like, look, just this one, just give it a chance, give it an opportunity, suspend your disbelief for just a moment, in order to let this sink in. And what I see as far as writing the streak and looking at it and saying, I'm back to the streak that you were considering, I'm going to laugh at least one time daily. There's some specificity about that is significant and important.
Specificity. Pick a different word.
Specificity. What I see is that what I'm going to do, so I state the action. And isn't this how it's written in the book? It says, basically,
So it says, and it's talking about, brainstorm all these things that you want to do. Choose one activity that you would like to set as a streak and write it in the following format. The action. So what it is you want to do.
Yeah. Write, run, read.
Multiplication, fact, laugh.
Whatever
breathe,
it is, the action that you're going to do.
And then this is the at least. So every streak should probably have, it needs to have at least.
Mm-hmm.
So do this thing at least. And then you need to decide, is this a daily thing? Is this a weekly thing?
Well, and I think if it's daily or weekly, just before that, at least one time daily, 2 times daily.
Yeah, how many times?
How many times is simple enough?
Right.
Because that's what I'm going for, simplicity, not for complexity and the absolute best, biggest thing.
Right. And then daily is daily. Daily is 7 days. I mean, you want a consecutive string of things that you're doing every day.
Single day.
And we've had a lot of people say, well, what if I'm doing it
6
days a week? Or I just want to do it
6 days a week.
Yeah, 6 days a week. Or I just want to do it the days that I work. Those are weekly streaks that
and
you
those
do
are great.
5 times in a week or 6 times in a week or 3 times in a week. And those are great.
When we were talking about how you keep record of your streaks, which we'll get to in another podcast as far as keeping the record and why that's important. I just recently had an experience that I've doubted my record, and we need to talk about that because it's kind of interesting what I've been grappling with. What I see is that when we record that we did something at least one time daily, or at least that there's a daily streak, weekly streaks, and monthly streaks. And that's pretty much it.
That's it.
There's not, well, I've got a streak that's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or any of those things. Now you can keep track of those, but they're basically daily, weekly, or monthly. And for a streak to be daily, it's got to be every single day.
Every single day.
For it to be weekly, it can be 6 days in the week.
As many times a week as
right,
you
or
want.
many times in the week is what it is. Well, we've gone through the methodology moment for the entire podcast.
Yes. So when you write your streak, include the words at least. You can always do more, but you're successful the minute you do the least.
And don't diminish yourself by saying, I just did this. Know that you did it and move forward and go on.
And it's amazing because being consistent is important and hard, and you can do it.
We'd love to hear from you. We hear from so many people. We've got so many stories that we want to share with you, and we will in future podcasts. But share with us your streaks, Jeffrey, Jeffrey, at streakingmastery.com, or
Jamie, Jami, at streakingmastery.com.
Until we talk again, keep streaking.
Become a better you. It's the small and simple things that make you grow into what you're hoping. You're in a hurry, don't even worry. It's too simple not to do. It's the little things that